full 55 good years. We stayed together. We shared everything together. But she kept this all away from me. She's wicked and heartless. I will never forgive her. Old Joe said, sobbing uncontrollably. Fams, before we dive into this thrilling story, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and turn on the notification icon. Let's dive in. Joe adjusted his old brown hat against the chilly morning wind. His knees ached as he walked slowly toward the small cemetery on the edge of town. In his hands, he carried a bouquet of white roses, Martha's favorite. Every Sunday for the past 20 years, he had visited her grave. Rain or shine, sickness or health, he never missed a visit. It was the only place where he still felt close to her. "Morning, Martha," he whispered, placing the flowers gently on the polished stone. "Brought you some roses. The lady at the flower shop said they are fresh." He sighed and sat on the little bench beside the grave, just like always. He told her about his week, how the grandkids next door had helped him fix his fence, how his old friend, Bill, had passed away last Tuesday. "I miss you," he said softly, rubbing his wrinkled hands together. "Every day." Just then, he heard footsteps behind him. Joe turned and saw a tall, broad-shouldered man standing a few feet away. The man wore a dark coat, and his eyes were fixed on Martha's grave. His face looked familiar. "Do I know him?" Joe wondered. The stranger stepped closer, his boots crunching on the dry leaves. His eyes were red, like he had been crying. "Can I help you, son?" Joe asked kindly. The man swallowed hard. His hands trembled. You don't know me," he said in a deep, shaky voice. "But I think I'm your son." Joe's heart stopped. "What?" He stared at the man, searching his face. The shape of his nose, the color of his eyes. Martha's eyes. A cold shiver ran down Joe's spine. "My name is Daniel," the man continued. "Martha was my mother." Joe's legs felt weak. He gripped the bench to steady himself. This can't be real. He and Martha had tried for years to have children, but after many tears and doctor visits, they had accepted that it wasn't meant to be. How could she have a son? Daniel wiped his face with his sleeve. "She gave me up for adoption when I was born. She never told you." Joe's mind raced. Why wouldn't Martha tell me something like this? He looked at Daniel again. The man was in his late 40s, maybe early 50s. That would mean Martha was pregnant before we married. His chest tightened. "Are you sure?" Joe asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Daniel reached into his coat pocket and pulled out an old photograph. He handed it to Joe. The picture was faded, but Joe recognized Martha instantly. She was young, maybe 18, holding a baby wrapped in a blue blanket. She was smiling, but her eyes looked sad. On the back of the photo, written in Martha's handwriting, "My sweet Daniel. May God protect you always." Joe's hands shook. All these years, she kept this from me. "Why now?" Joe asked, struggling to keep his voice steady. "Why come here after all this time?" Daniel took a deep breath. "I only found out Martha was my mother a few months ago. My adoptive parents passed away last year, and when I went through their papers, I found my original birth certificate. Her name was on it." He looked down at the grave, his voice breaking. "I wanted to meet her, to ask her why she gave me away. But when I tracked her down, I found out she had already passed." His shoulders slumped. "Then I learned about you. I had to see you, to know if you even knew about me." Joe didn't know what to say. His whole life, he had believed he and Martha shared everything. But now, she had a secret, a big one. He felt a mix of emotions, shock, sadness, confusion. But looking at Daniel, he also felt something else. "This is my son, a son he never knew existed." Joe stood up slowly, his old bones protesting. He reached out a trembling hand. Daniel hesitated, then took it. "Come home with me," Joe said. "We have a lot to talk about." As they walked away from the grave together, Joe's mind swirled with questions. Why did Martha keep this from me? Did she ever try to find Daniel? And Can I forgive her? Joe's small house smelled of old wood and coffee, just like always. But today, everything felt different. Daniel sat at the kitchen table, his large hands wrapped around a warm mug. He looked around at the photos on the walls, pictures of Joe and Martha on their wedding day, vacations, holidays, all those years. And I wasn't there. Joe placed a plate of cookies between them. His hands still shook a little. So, he said slowly, "Tell me everything." Daniel took a deep breath. "I was born in 1972. My birth certificate says Martha was only 17. Joe's eyes widened. 1972. That was 2 years before he and Martha had even met. Did she ever mention me? Daniel asked hesitantly. Joe shook his head. No, son, she never did. A heavy silence filled the room. Then Daniel reached into his bag and pulled out a small, worn-out box. After I found out Martha was my mother, I tracked down the orphanage where I was adopted from. They gave me this. He opened the box. Inside was a tiny baby bracelet with the name Daniel engraved on it, and a letter. Joe's heart pounded as he unfolded the yellowed paper. Dear Daniel, if you're reading this, it means you've come looking for me. I'm so sorry I couldn't keep you. My parents said I was too young to raise a child. They made me give you away, but I've loved you every day of my life. Please forgive me. Martha. Tears welled in Joe's eyes. She wrote this and never told me. Daniel's voice was rough with emotion. I need to know, what was she like? Joe wiped his face. She was the kindest woman I ever knew, always putting others first. He paused. But now I wonder, did she ever stop thinking about you? Just then, Joe remembered something. He stood up so fast his chair screeched. Wait here. He hurried to the bedroom and pulled out Martha's old hope chest from under the bed. Dust flew as he opened it. Inside were quilts, old scarves, and a small locked diary. Her private journal. Joe's fingers trembled as he turned the key. He had never read it before. Martha had always said it was just silly thoughts. He flipped through the pages until one entry caught his eye. June 12, 1995. Today, I saw a boy at the grocery store who looked just like Daniel. My heart stopped. He would be 23 now. Is he happy? Does he have a family? I pray every night that he does. Joe still doesn't know. Some secrets are too heavy to share. Joe gasped. All these years, she never forgot him. He carried the diary back to the kitchen, his legs unsteady. Daniel looked up. What is it? Wordlessly, Joe handed him the journal. As Daniel read, his face changed. Anger, sadness, then quiet understanding. She thought about me, all this time. Joe sat down heavily. I just don't understand why she didn't tell me. We told each other everything. Daniel hesitated. Then he said softly, maybe she was ashamed. Or maybe she was trying to protect you. Protect me? From what? Before Joe could ask, Daniel pointed to another page in the diary. Look at this. The entry read, March 3rd, 1972. I told Mama about the baby. She said if I keep it, I'll shame the family. That no good man will ever want me if they know. She's making me give him away. My heart is breaking. Joe's breath caught. That's why. Martha hadn't kept the secret to deceive him. She'd been taught her whole life that her past made her unlovable. And when she met Joe, she'd been too afraid to lose him. Daniel's eyes were wet. She didn't want you to think less of her. Joe covered his face with his hands. All these years, he'd thought their marriage was built on complete honesty. But now, could he forgive her for hiding something so big? And more importantly, could he forgive himself for never seeing her pain? The morning sun spilled through the kitchen curtains as Joe and Daniel sat in silence, the weight of Martha's diary between them. Joe rubbed his tired eyes. All these years, I thought I knew everything about her. Daniel traced the edge of the diary with his finger. There's more to the story. Something doesn't add up. Just then, a sharp knock rattled the front door. Both men jumped. Nobody ever visited Joe this early. When he opened the door, An elderly woman in a crisp blue dress stood on the porch. Her silver hair was pulled into a tight bun, and her sharp eyes locked onto Joe's face. "Joseph Carter?" she asked, her voice like ice. Joe stiffened. "Evelyn." Daniel appeared behind him. "Who is?" The woman's gaze snapped to Daniel. Her breath caught. "Oh my lord, you look just like her." Joe's hands clenched. "Evelyn is Martha's older sister. We haven't spoken in 30 years." Evelyn's mouth twisted. "Not since you stole my sister away." Daniel stepped forward. "What do you know about me?" Evelyn's wrinkled hand flew to her chest. "So she did tell you." She glared at Joe. "I always knew you'd ruin everything." Joe's face turned red. "What are you talking about?" Evelyn pushed past them into the house. "I came as soon as I heard someone was asking about Martha's past at the orphanage." She spun to face Daniel. "Your mother made a promise when she gave you up, to never contact you, to never tell a soul." Daniel's voice shook. "Why?" Evelyn's eyes darkened. "Because our father was running for mayor. A teenage daughter with a bastard child." She scoffed. "It would have destroyed him." Joe's chair screeched as he stood. "You forced her to give up her baby." Evelyn didn't flinch. "We saved her, found her a good husband, and gave her a respectable life." She pointed at Daniel. "And he would have ruined it all." Daniel's fists clenched. "So my whole life was a secret to protect some politician's reputation." Evelyn lifted her chin. "Family comes first." Something inside Joe snapped. He marched to the bookshelf and pulled down a dusty photo album. Flipping to the back, he tore out a hidden envelope. "You want to talk about family?" He threw the envelope at Evelyn. "Then explain this." Daniel picked it up. Inside was a legal document dated 1975, 3 years after his birth. "It's a petition," Daniel read aloud, "from Martha to reclaim custody of her son." His head jerked up. "She tried to get me back." Evelyn paled. "That was a mistake. We took care of it." Joe staggered like he'd been hit. "You stopped her?" Evelyn's composure cracked. "She signed the adoption papers. She couldn't just." Daniel's shout cut her off. "She was my mother." The house fell silent except for Daniel's ragged breathing. Evelyn straightened her dress. "It doesn't matter now. The past is." "The past just walked in my door," Joe growled. He pointed to the door. "Get out." As Evelyn left, her final words hung in the air. "You'll regret digging this up, Joseph." When the door slammed, Daniel sank into a chair. "All this time, she fought for me." Joe's knees gave out. He clutched the petition like a lifeline. She never stopped trying. The truth crashed over them. Martha hadn't kept the secret willingly. Her own family had trapped her in silence. Daniel wiped his face. "I need to see where it happened. The orphanage, her home, everything." Joe nodded slowly. "Then we'll go. Together." But as they prepared to leave, neither noticed the car parked down the street, or the figure watching them through binoculars. The old pickup truck rattled down the country road, kicking up dust behind them. Joe gripped the steering wheel tighter as they approached the weathered farmhouse where Martha grew up. The peeling white paint and sagging porch looked nothing like the cheerful home Martha had described in stories. Daniel leaned forward in his seat. "This is it." Joe nodded, his throat tight. "Haven't been back since her funeral." As they stepped onto the creaky porch, a curtain twitched in the neighboring house. The place had been empty for years, but someone was watching. The front door was locked, but one push and the rotten wood frame gave way. Dust swirled in the sunlight as they entered. The air smelled of mildew and forgotten memories. Daniel ran his hand along the faded wallpaper. "She slept upstairs." Before Joe could answer, a floorboard creaked overhead. They froze. "Hello?" Daniel called. No answer. Joe grabbed a rusted fireplace poker. "Stay behind me." The stairs groaned under their weight. At the top, they found Martha's childhood bedroom. Pink floral wallpaper peeling at the edges. A small bed with a broken frame. Then Daniel gasped. "Look." Scratched into the closet door were tiny marks. Joe squinted. Dates. Birthdays. 1973, 1974, 1980. Daniel traced them with shaking fingers. She kept track of my birthdays. Every year. Joe's vision blurred. All this time, she'd been counting the years without her son. A thump came from downstairs. They rushed down to find an elderly man in overalls standing in the living room. Jeg. Joe lowered the poker. Martha's childhood neighbor looked 20 years older, but his scowl was the same. Joe Carter. Jeb spat tobacco into a cup. Evelyn warned me you'd come sniffing around. Daniel stepped forward. Wait just. I know who you are. Jeb's eyes narrowed. The spit-tin image of your mama. Evelyn's been burning up the phone lines since you showed up. He reached into his overalls. Joe tensed, but Jeb just pulled out a yellowed envelope. Martha gave me this before she married you. Said to keep it safe. Daniel took it carefully. Inside was a birth certificate and a second letter. My dearest Daniel, if you're reading this, you found your way home. I pray every night that you had a good life. I want you to know, giving you up was the hardest thing I ever did. My family made me swear never to contact you, but I've left clues for you everywhere. The marks on the closet, the locket buried in the backyard oak. Your father gave it to me the night you were conceived. And most of all, the man standing beside you now. Joseph Carter is the kindest soul I've ever known. If life gives you a second chance, let him be your father like he was mine. I loved you both with all my heart. Forever yours. Mama. Tears dripped onto the paper. Daniel sank to his knees. Joe placed a trembling hand on his shoulder. She wanted this, wanted us. Jeb cleared his throat. There's more. That oak tree. He pointed out back. Planted the day you was born. Boy, Martha buried something under it when she was 16. They rushed outside to the massive oak. Its roots had pushed up through the earth, exposing something metallic. Daniel dug with his hands until he pulled free a rusted tin box. Inside was a baby's locket with a photo of teenage Martha, a lock of dark hair tied with ribbon, and a newspaper clipping about the mayoral election, with Martha's father's face circled angrily in red. Joe understood everything now. The forced adoption, the silenced rebellion, the lifetime of hidden grief. At sunset, they stood together at Martha's grave. Joe placed the locket on her headstone. Daniel wiped his eyes. I wish I'd known her. Joe put his arm around him. You do now, and she'd be so proud of the man you became. The wind rustled the trees as they stood there, three hearts finally at peace. As they turned to leave, Joe hesitated. Then softly, for the first time, You coming home, son? Daniel smiled through tears. Yeah, Dad. I'm coming home.